day 3 in the trial of Angelita Ruiz. She is, of course, facing her trial for the murder of Joshua Huffman back in Longview in 2020. So for day 3, I know we're waiting to hear more testimony, but this time from the other side of the courtroom.
Yeah, Hannah, I'm out here at the Gregg County Courthouse, just standing in front at the lawn here. And what we've seen today is we've been able to learn a little bit more about the inner workings of this relationship. Over the past couple days, we've heard from medical experts, law enforcement. We've seen what their perspective was that night. We've heard about what they were able to determine after the shooting itself. And today we are really diving into that firsthand perspective from people involved with the victim and the defendant and both of them. So what you're seeing here, there were some opening statements made by the defense. He kind of painted the scene for the jury to prepare for, and it's been an emotional day. Even from the start, we have seen lots of tears and just heavy breathing, crying from the defense, mainly the defendant Angelita Ruiz, but also the people there in support of her. Her mother took the stand here today. That's what you're looking at right now, and she was able to give perspective of what she saw from that relationship. We did learn today that it was a 10-year long on and off again relationship. These two were considered common law. They shared 4 children together. And Angelita Ruiz herself took the stand. She gave a firsthand experience going back, detailing those 10 years of the relationship, and then going into heavy detail of that month of April that led up to the shooting that happened on April 29th, 2020. She was able to tell instances where she felt in danger by Joshua Huffman. And then she was able to just kind of, in her words, she said she wanted to get her truth out there. So that's what she chose to take the stand today. She waived that Fifth Amendment right. She didn't have to get up there. She chose to. Now, of course, the state fired back, and during cross-examination, things got a bit intense in there. I will say it was one of the more eventful conversations we've had in this trial so far. It was brought up that there are details that Angelita herself can't recall, while they are the specific details that could be incriminating. And so the state was trying to kind of press on that and say, well, if you can't remember it, is there a reason why? It seems that there's a common denominator. The things you can't remember are the things that could really not look well for you here. And something I do want to point out that was a big headline for me, at least, and I think most people would agree, at the beginning of court today, we found out that Angelita Ruiz actually purchased the firearm that killed Joshua Huffman 8 hours before the murder. It was day of. And that was a big piece of the puzzle for me. She claims it was to defend herself against people that were coming around looking for Joshua Huffman. Apparently, he'd been involved in some shady business. And she claims that the gun was bought in defense, that if those people came back around, were banging on her door again like they had been earlier in the week, trying to get a hold of Mr. Huffman, she would have a way to defend herself. And so that was her reasoning for the purchase. But yes, it was purchased the day of, which was quite interesting for me to learn today, as I'm sure as many other people in the courtroom were surprised to learn as well.
So she's, of course, like you mentioned moments ago, claiming this was in self defense, even though this happened not even 12 hours before the shooting took place.
Right. And then something that she went into great detail about was the night of the shooting itself. And so from her perspective, she had Mr. Huffman in her driveway. What she wanted was to get him to come to her home. These are her words, so that she could get her vehicle back from him. Apparently it was a common thing that Mr. Huffman would take her car and use it throughout the day, not return it, and just kind of abuse his privileges in that way, coming from her. And so there are texts that from her to him from that night in this time frame that all say, get to my house, come to my house. It's clear she wants him to be in her presence, according to these text messages. She claims that that was their style of communicating. She wanted him to get to the house. That was her way of getting him to show up so that she could get her car back. Now, of course, the state is arguing that that's not what it looks like. And so we've been going back and forth on those perspectives here today. But the moments before the shooting, what happened was is that Mr. Huffman pulled into the driveway, and Angelita claims that he revved his engine 3 times in an attempt to possibly hit her, bump her with his car, run over her, whatever he may have been trying to do, whether it was to scare her. We're not really sure, but she said that that was what led her to eventually pull the trigger. She admitted to pulling the trigger. She admitted to being the one that shot him. She admitted to pulling the trigger on purpose. There was not an accident. The gun didn't fall. She made that very clear. And so that was what happened today whenever we were in the courtroom, when we heard her testimony.
And I know you're about to head back in there in just a moment. What is expected for the rest of the day? Because, like we've heard from the beginning of this trial, they're expected to wrap this up pretty quickly. By tomorrow is the goal.
Yes, later today we are supposed to hear from a forensic pathologist. She's going to go over the path of the bullet, the way it entered the brain, how it could be shot from that angle, because that was another part that the state really kind of hit on during cross-examination. They played out the placement of what that night would have looked like and made sure that they were getting it right in terms of how the angle could have been. We even went back and remarked some evidence to update where exactly Miss Ruiz was standing whenever the gunshot was fired into the car. And so they've been really specific about nailing those details so that they know exactly where everyone was. And so I imagine this talk with the pathologist this afternoon will really, really cover those aspects of the night that was on April 29th, 2020.
So we're bookending this with forensics. Just how we started, that's how we're going to end. At least for
Yes,
today.
it seems. Yes, that's what it seems like. That's been a very heavy part of this trial, is the forensics, whether they were digital or physical. That has been a very integral part of this entire trial.
All right, I know you got to get back in there because they're about to start up in the next, 10 minutes, 5 minutes or so. So we'll send you back in. We appreciate this update and we'll wait to hear more.